Okay, got it recorded. So I'm going to go ahead and get you guys going on this. So we're going to talk about grocery stores, literacy about understanding food labels, navigating grocery stores, marketing, things of that nature. Because I think this is where some of the marketing can really confuse people. So literacy and understanding that marketing is very important. So we're going to touch on some of these key components. Some of it's going to be general, some of it we'll deep dive into specifics. Why does it matter? So it does, and they've, did some regulations in these last couple of years to help the consumer understand and be a better consumer of understanding of what they're consuming, what does it involve, what kind of chemicals things are in the products, calorie based breakdown of macros, things of that nature. I think we need to take it one more level as well, but I understand that it takes effort to pull all this data points together and make sure it's easy for a consumer to understand. With marketing, they can cause some misconceptions and some um, confusion, I would say, and they're good about doing that. So what we want to try to do is understand and avoid misleading marketing, build confidence that you can navigate almost any grocery store, and then create eating habits and habits in general around these components that I'm going to go through. And it makes the decision making a little bit more simplified for you. So that way you set yourself up for success. And this is just an easy, and we used to do this. And again, when we used to do the tours way back in the day with our brick and mortar, these are concepts that you can use anywhere. Shop the perimeter first because that's typically where the food of better quality is. What I should say there, not better quality. Fruits, veggies, meats, milk, produce are typically in those areas. So fill, half the cart with, produce or veggies, things of that nature. So minimize your uh, purchasing of maybe processed foods, box things. So again, these are just strategies you can implement. Choose lean proteins, add whole foods, carbs, limit ultra processed items as much as possible. Now, sometimes some of the products you do have to purchase in a format that is more processed, but I'll talk about a little bit about that here. And then nutritional facts can be really confusing and how they put them on the labels and packagings and the marketing around that. So we really want to understand the serving size first. That's the general marker point we want to understand. And then the second one, because this would where it can get confusing, is check calorie per serving. Because I've seen so many times where a client we're communicating back and forth, and they're like, "Yeah, I ate the whole package." Well, it was they didn't look and see how many serving sizes, and it may have been two or three serving sizes, and how the calorie was labeled on the package per serving. So per serving size. So it may have been 150 per serving size, and they, all three servings of that. Well, instead of eating 150 calories, they're eating way, way, way more. And that was happening quite often because the marketing component is confusing. So you always want to understand how many serving sizes are within the package or within, how many chips or how many cookies or whatever. That's the funny thing is if we do have some of these things in our house, we ask the kids, okay, let's look at the serving size. How many, can you get? So we kind of try to educate them on that and use that as a marker point. We want, obviously protein. You guys hear me talk about this a lot. Aim for 20 plus grams. If you can get to that marker point, depending on what the product is. And if this is something that we don't talk a ton about, you've heard me talk about a little bit about it, but fiber, aim for 3 plus grams, and that would be per serving or whatever product it may be, look for ways to get more fiber in. That's what, obviously the protein and the fiber, we're just trying to get you to be more aware of getting those two components in and then avoid trans fats if you can. So Ingredients list, th this can be confusing as well because it can be, depending on what you're consuming or what you're purchasing, could have a long list of things in the product. So when you look at that, the first ingredient is going to be the highest quality or highest amount within that product. That's how they label those out. So we also want to look at how short that list of ingredients is. If it's shorter, it's probably going to be a little bit better. Less things or less additives put into place. We see this in supplementation too, because we have to work through those situations. Kind of the same concept goes within the ingredients list on a protein with these first two statements that goes across the board with most products. You want to look for hidden sugars, dextrose. They will put these in their syrups and maltodextrin and different hidden sugars within the product, and you'll see that quite often. Here are some better oils because there will be different types of oils put in products, and I know that there's hey, seed oil's bad, hey, seed oil's not, back and forth, back and forth. They're still trying to work through that component, and to be really transparent, I need to dig more into understanding because it goes back and forth in what I've seen on that. But with that said, olive, avocado, and coconut are better oils. Here's some marketing tricks that you don't have to take on. Okay. So all natural, what does that really mean? I mean, that's a marketing ploy. Low fat. When you think of a low fat product, here's what happens. Often means high sugar. So they pull the fat and they put sugar in place of it to make it still taste good. We went through that craze back in 90s. I think it was a lot of low fat crazes and phases. And if you go sugar free, if it has sugar free on it, most likely there's artificial sweeteners within it. Okay, again, these are just marketing tricks. And if you look at the label and then start digging down on it, you may be able to identify some of these. Even though it says made with whole grains, may still be refined. So again, they can put these labels on there without they've left. Interesting part is there's loopholes, and it's not this or that. Even though it says it's this, it could have that in it. That's it's kind of unfair to the consumer, but they did it on ratios and percentages, so that way, they could say made with whole grains when it has a bunch of refined components within it, and still sell it as a product that's whole grains, but it's not truly that product, unfortunately. Greenwashing and branding. This is an interesting component. So the psychology component of this. So if you see earth tones, green packaging, rusted font, illusion of health, it's going to be more healthy. See, they do a lot of research and market research on these things to get us to buy products. So it's quite interesting in how they do it. Here's some other words they use: simply real, fresh, nature's. That's all meaningless. That's just a marketing ploy. We read it in however they label the format. It was like, oh, must be healthier, it's better for you, and we may pay more for it. And actually, it's not doing any of the things that it's saying. So, and another one that and I've had a client in the past I worked with, and she's like, well, it's organic or it's natural or she always would say that. I was like, well, that's okay. But if you're still consuming too many calories, it's not going to matter. So organic does not equal low calorie or high protein. Again, you can have a lot of good organic, whatever it may be, and still overconsume. That's not going to get the needle moving forward in the direction you want it to. And here's some examples of if you were on this is our virtual guide through the grocery store. You want to, with the produce, here's some things you would look at. Choose color variety if you can, because it's going to give you more nutrient based. And then a lot of us who may be in areas that the seasons change, we really want to look at this. Some of you guys may not be. Some of you guys may be warmer climate or consistent climate year round, so it may not impact you as much. Seasonal picks, how to choose freshness, crispness, firmness, and then is it in season? That's going to help with, hey, is this product or this produce going to be fresh? We've we go to Whole Foods is one of the main grocery stores we frequent, and we always have a hard time with their produce. It just staying fresh, unfortunately. And we do the best we can, but it always seems like some of their produce, and at least the store we go to, we have a hard time. We buy it, and if we don't consume it fairly quickly, it starts to go bad, which is unfortunate. But you just got to be aware and understand from a seasonal standpoint, if you are out of season in certain things and they have it, it may turn fairly quickly. So make sure put it in the recipe or consume it, however that looks like for you. And then when you talk about organic versus conventional, when it really matters to you, and what does it look like? Where are you at in your journey? So, there is some validity with some of the chemicals and things that we're exposed to and with the produce and things of that nature. But you got to choose your battle wisely. So that's kind of depends on where you're at currently in your journey. So I'll kind of leave that open for you guys. And then what we're going to dive into in a little bit deeper is each section. We're going to start with the proteins. I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Then we're going to dig into each category a little bit deeper for you guys. And then we'll break that down into sections. So with proteins, we'll look at lean cuts. We'll look at like a seafood rotation, depending on obviously where you're at. Uh, some of you do consume more plant protein. So we'll talk about those options and what those look like. And then what labels actually mean. We'll dive into that a little bit as well. So when we go into the protein section, when you think about your proteins, you want to go after lean cuts if you can. Obviously there's a budget in mind as well, which we'll talk some budgeting as well. Um, those are going to be your higher quality proteins with best macro profile are going to be the lean cuts you choose from. So, and they're going to be lower in saturated fats. That's why we say, okay, if we can get those lean cuts, they're going to be the most bang for your buck with the ratios. Okay. And then when we go into the poultry, you can go into chicken breast, that'd be skinless. Then we go turkey breast, ground chicken, or turkey, 93 to 99% lean, and then turkey tenderloin. So there's just different cuts we can choose from to make sure that we're getting a better profile and quality versus obviously fat versus saturated fats. And then why would we do this? High protein density, low calorie per gram, easy to meal prep for you guys, and it's going to help you get you closer to your total protein goals and the ratios. And then obviously you guys have heard me talk about this, and Aaron's talked about it as well. Typically, what we see, and this is naturally going to happen, is your fat is going to rise with your protein intake to some degree, but we want to try to manage that as much as we can. And that's why you would go after different cuts of meat or leaner cuts. So when you go into the beef, choose cuts labeled sirloin, tenderloin, or round, or you can go 96% lean ground beef. Now, the interesting part, depending on if you've not chosen some of the leaner cuts, and it depends on what you're making, how you cook it's going to really matter because if it's leaner, it'll dry out quicker. So you just got to be careful with that and whatever your recipe is because it can affect your recipe as well. So when you look at this, you're looking at sirloin tips, eye round, top round, flank steak. So this kind of gives you guys a breakdown, and then you can go into if you go into ground beef, you go into that 93 to 96% ground beef. So And a big myth, this is obviously being educated more, is beef equals unhealthy. Not necessarily. Again, some of the protein or some of the beef animal products got a bad rap for a while. The cut's going to determine the nutritional makeup. So you can choose a better cut, and it's 100% going to be healthier for you, and it is healthy. So that's more of a misconception. Then we go into, the pork. You want to look at it. It obviously is another great protein option. I would just say it may be, the fat ratio is going to be a little bit higher. Obviously, the chicken's going to be one of the leanest, turkeys, lean. Then we go into beef, pork, and we work ourselves down per protein. So you can go after pork tenderloin or center cut pork chops and trim it. I like both. A good center cut pork chop bone in is fantastic. It just depends on the person, but again, these are just ratios and just different ways you can still consume the types of protein you like in a format that still rate the ratio is good and it's going to be healthier for you. With seafood, that's I kind of we don't consume a lot. I would like to consume more, but Aaron struggles with some of the seafood. Uh, Plus, being landlocked it's harder to get a hold of great. We do have some stores that will fly some in, but obviously there's a price point, and it depends, maybe special occasions. So, um, I would encourage. This is an area that we probably need to do a better job, even myself, because the omega threes. We don't consume enough of this in our natural diet. So I encourage you guys, if you can, 2 seafood meals per week, if you can. I know we don't, but it would be great. I would love that. Um, so I lived on the coast for a little while, and I got spoiled, and I kind of missed that because we lived right on the water in Maryland, and I worked on the water for a summer, and we consumed a lot of seafood, and it was great, fresh seafood, and so I kind of missed that component. But here's some options that are going to be uh, kind of rated down as far as nutritional value. So salmon, highest in omega threes. Sardines, nutritional powerhouse. So they have a lot of nutrients. Tuna, uh, that's one of the better canned options. And interesting part is you can buy tuna in a bottle too, a glass jar, Totino's, and it's really good. You're going to pay a little bit more for it because the quality's higher, but it is a great tuna option that is in a glass jar. Cod, it's lean and mild. Again, you're going to have to figure out, the taste buds and the texture component of what you like. Tilapia, budget friendly, shrimp, very lean, almost pure protein. So some of these have a little bit higher cholesterol, but you just it's a give or take. Uh, and then I would say with cholesterol, I'm not as worried about cholesterol for really the type of cholesterol. So, and then why rotation matters, reduces exposure to environmental mercury. That's it's a big thing. And typically with seafood, you want to try to get it in more natural. Where was it? Where did it come from? A more natural resource, not necessarily farmed if you can. And I'll talk about that here with beef as well and grass fed and things of that nature. And then it's going to help balance fatty acid more naturally. Obviously, I personally take a omega-3 essential fatty acid most daily to get mine in because of my diet's not consuming it. And then it provides a wider micronutrient spectrum for you when you bring this fish in. And then we jump over into plant protein options. It's going to be great for adding fiber and lowering, obviously, can lower some of the grocery bills. Best picks going to be beans, black beans, kidney beans. But I will say the ratio is going to be off. What I'm saying there is carb protein. So that's the hard part with when you go a plant-based. But this is another way to add more protein within your plan without having it to come from animal source. So lentils, tofu, Again, we can go through all these edamames. Great. My kids will eat those, chickpeas, quinoa. So these are all uh, different ways you can get a protein source based on plant based. And it is going to be a little bit cheaper, obviously, than meat based. And then we'll go into dairy and eggs. So when we go into this, look for yogurts that are high in protein, lower in added sugar, and or no. When you go into the Greek yogurts, low sugar Greek yogurts if you can. 15 to 20 grams. I think the ones we consume are around that 16-gram marker point. What you want to avoid when you purchase these, if you can, the ones that have fruit at the bottom, kids yogurts, drinkable yogurts, granola topped parfaits. These often contain much more sugar than ice cream sometimes. Um, so you got to pay attention because what can happen, you got that good source of protein, but then you fill it with a lot of sugar. If you bring the granola and they add or they may add a ton of sugar to make it taste really good. So it's like a dessert. So just be very careful with your with your yogurts. I would say, hey, plain Greek yogurt, and then you can add, some honey, you can add the fruit, you can add the sweetness from a natural state, and then control that a little bit better. It's also controlling the calories. So this is where I wanted to jump in over into, because you're going to hear these terms, what grass-fed actually means. Most people misunderstand this term, and I don't know if and I probably should have put on here the eggs as well. I'll look. I can't remember if I put that on there. So most people misunderstand the terms, and here is a definition. So grass-fed cows were fed some portion of grass during their life, but not necessarily exclusively. So again, I told you in the beginning they've made these small loopholes in these marketing components where they can sell the product for a higher price point and not truly give you what you thought you were getting. So again, educating yourself on some of these components is very important. So better labels would be grass-fed, grass-finished. That would be the golden standard. Pasture raised, more human and nutrient dense, and then organic avoids antibiotics and synthetic feed. So when you get into products that are, uh, you know, better quality meat, nutritionally, there's going to be advantage there based upon how the animal was fed. So grass-fed products typically have slightly more omega-3 essential fatty acids, so you can get that in your diet. Some slightly better vitamin profile, mineral profile. So you're getting more nutrient dense food when it's like this, and it's going to be a cleaner, better fat profile for you as well. So. It's not going to be any huge calorie difference. Grass-fed is great, but protein quality matters more than marketing sometimes. So if it's a budget thing, this just gives you some understanding of making the call you can make. Okay. We do the more organic grass-fed personally cuts of meat because we set a budget for our food and we're willing to pay a little bit more for our food. Again, that comes back to budgeting. And then, this came through the marketplace pretty heavy a couple years ago, and it is the um, milk alternatives. And I've used some of these in the past, but I've gotten away from them again. I don't use a ton of milk, but I will. I don't have an issue with milk. Um, some people do. Some people have some allergy responses to milk. So uh, this is where some people get confused. Real versus how they label them, nutritionally solid. So if we go into these, unsweetened almond milk is a low calorie, unsweetened cashew milk, soy milk, closest to protein content to a cow's milk. I'm just giving you, a breakdown. Um, some of these are better than others. Again, if you have an issue with milk, you may consume one of these. I'm just kind of giving you an overview because sometimes what we do is we think we're consuming something more healthy and it may not be the case. So pea protein milk, that's going to be a higher protein. And then some people can digest pea protein, some people can't. So again, you got to figure out what makes sense for you. And then we go into marketing heavy, less ideal. So the top one is going to be a little bit better. The next version is going to be a little bit less healthy. Again, so the oat milk, very high carb, often added oils within the product. And you got to really look and see what they add. You got to read the ingredients list. Coconut milk beverage, very low protein. So, again, what's your goal? What is your why are you consuming this specific product and how much of it are you consuming? And then specifically when you're consuming a fluid based, what's the calorie ratio? So, and then protein. So you want to look at those. And then sweetened nut milks, they'd flavor vanilla, chocolate. So then you'll start getting into some sweeteners and things of that nature. And then protein milks with unnecessary additives, you'll see that as well. So what you want to check, and I put this down here at the bottom, always check added if there's added sugars, if there's oils, and then you want to see the protein ratio or protein content. And we've seen this, most healthy milks are actually sugar water with marketing. So just be aware. Some of the breakdown, always check the label. Do they have added sugars? What's the protein ratio? What else have they added? Is there other oils and things of that nature? Again, I'm leaving this kind of broad, just giving you, a breakdown. So the top is going to be more of a real nutritionally solid. The other one is going to be a little bit more marketing heavy. So maybe less quality. And then we get into frozen foods. Most of the time, you can navigate frozen foods. It's going to go back to, hey, what's the ingredients list? What is added? What's not added? So frozen produce is nutritionally equally fresh as long as they don't put any other things within when they freeze it. Most of the time, they won't when it says it on there. So it could be a huge myth to crush your your presentation of, hey, this is healthy, this is not because it's frozen. It doesn't matter. It really depends on how or if they add any other product in there. So why is it equal and sometimes better? So flash frozen at peak. I don't pay a lot of attention to this, but I've seen some of these, and I've seen this in juicing and things of that nature, where flash frozen at peak ripeness, that you get all the nutrients out of it, or it keeps all the nutrients within when you freeze it. Um, Retains nutrients, vitamin C especially, has longer shelf life, lower cost. So here are some better picks from a frozen standpoint. Obviously berries, broccoli, spinach, mixed veggies, cauliflower rice, stir fry blends. So I'll get into those here in a second. And then some of them you want to be more cautious of. Again, uh, some may be decent, but you want to kind of look and what is the breakdown? Does it have a giant ingredients list? Is there a lot of products put in there? Added sugars and sauces, high sodiums, low protein. So those are what you want to look for when you look for like frozen meals and frozen foods outside of just your general fruit or your general broccoli and things of that nature that doesn't have anything added to it. So better options, high protein bowls, 20 plus grams of protein, lean cuisine protein versions. Trader Joe's high protein items, so they have some within that specific store. Frozen salmon or shrimp, typically you'll be fine. Again, it depends on how you make it and how you decide to use the product. And again, veggie-based meals with simple ingredients. You want to look at that ingredients list and kind of minimize that. So you want to really look at the last part. Is it high protein, manageable sodium? That's going to be an okay option as long as there's not a huge ingredients list. So you can just kind of go at it from that standpoint. It's going to give you better bang for your buck and uh, less other additives and calories. when you think, I talked about the outer aisles. When you think about the center aisles, they're going to be a lot more to navigate, more canned box foods, processed. So it may be budget friendly and nutritionalist, are nutrient dense, but you just have to navigate this wisely. So when you look at your pantry, some of the proteins, canned tunas in water. I gave you the tuna I like is actually in a jar. It's the same format. They do have it is in an oil, so it's the calorie ratio is a little bit higher, but it's really good. Canned salmon, canned chicken, beans and lentils, and tofu. So these are all, you know, your pantry proteins. Now some of these may be higher in sodium because how they packaged them. Okay. And then here's some of your carb staples: brown rice, and, jasmine, oats, quinoa, whole grain pastas, potatoes. So those are just examples of stuff you're going to find more in the internal aisles. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about what to look for. Um, so ways you can build on top of flavor, spices, herbs, garlic powder, onion powder, salsa, mustards, bone broth. These are all ways to add flavor to your meals and or your proteins. Okay. And these are high fiber additions that are going to be in more of your center aisles: chia seeds, flaxseed, wheat bran. You're going to find a lot of different products like that in those sections. But you want to be aware in the center aisle, specifically reading, labels. Ultra processed foods primarily live here. You're going to see a lot of the box foods and things of that nature, and quick prepared foods within this area. So the area, or what you want to look for when and if you're buying foods within that realm, again, added sugars, artificial dyes, okay, hydrogenated oils, enriched flours, long ingredients list. So these are the red flags. If they have some of these components, you may want to try to minimize a couple of these and or find another product. Okay. Green flags: whole food ingredients, higher fiber, like I was talking about earlier, 3 grams plus, protein focused. It's going to be higher protein, short ingredients list. So again, it counteracts. So you just got to choose your battle in this area. Here's a good phrase: the front of the box is marketing, the back of the box is the truth. So just because it says something on the front of the box doesn't mean that it is, it is what it is. Because again, they label it, all natural, and they can get away with putting that in the front of the box. It's not truly all natural. So just be aware, really dig down on the ingredients list, understand what it is, calorie ratios, and nutrient value. And these are some of you've heard me talk about these grocery swaps or things you can swap out. Your flavored yogurts for your plain Greek. Again, you add your fruit, your sugars, your honey if you need to. You can sweeten it up and control that a lot better, and you can control the calorie protein ratio a lot better. So the granola, you can minimize that, go with oats or some other product, because you got to watch the granola based upon the calorie ratio. It'll push you up pretty high. And then if you do consume chips, maybe you want to minimize, or you can go popcorn or nuts, something that's sort of crunchy, that's less, it's more, I would say, more dense in nutrients and less, because chips typically, there's not a whole lot of value component at the nutrients side of things. And then if you struggle with the soda, you may want to move over into sparkling water or something that's less chemical based and or less calorie based, either or an iced tea, unsweetened iced tea. You guys have heard me talk about this, palm protein, fist times two is veggie. And then again, for men, it's going to be double palm protein. So a little bit different for men and women. Cupped hand carbs, thumbs is healthy fats. But what you can think of is with the carbs, the cupped hand is just add more veggies, because veggies are carbs, and you got your carbs covered. Because a lot of times I think we feel like we have to have some type of carb based, whether it's bread, whether it's potato, whether it's a rice. You don't necessarily have to consume that if you double down on your your veggie side of things, you'll get enough of your carbohydrates and typically more of a fibrous carbohydrate. And then budget friendly shopping. Obviously, I talked a little bit about that because some of the labeling and some of the marketing components will drive the price up, but you may not be getting exactly what you thought you were purchasing. So just be careful with the labels, the marketing on the label, I should say. So you can buy the frozen, produce, obviously, that is going to be a better ratio of cost. And then store brands, Whole Foods does a lot of great products. So we do a lot of the store brands a little bit cheaper than some of the other brands. And then what makes sense for you in bulk items? We don't do a ton of different bulk items, but you can. Sometimes they run sale on their protein, and we can buy more than we typically do and freeze some and make just want to make sure that you have some type of recipe that's going to obviously cover that product. And you can compare the price per ounce as well. Again, you want to look at the marketing. Sometimes they confuse you and one is less expensive or looks less expensive and you're not getting as much uh, per ounce or per product in container. And then seasonal produce is going to be more of, you know, uh, typically a little bit lower price point and more budget friendly. Again, the grocery list, you always want to get out your proteins. What does that look like for you? Chicken, eggs, lean beef. And I forgot to put the eggs on there because there is a difference between the type of eggs, free ranged eggs in comparison to caged. And I forget the other version of it. That's one of them I forgot to put on there. I'll find it and I'll send it out to you guys. But anyway, chicken, eggs, lean beef, Greek yogurts, your veggies, your spinach, your pepper, broccolis, the higher fiber. You can go with colorful as well, or deep greens because they're going to have more nutrient value. Carbs, rice, oats, beans, and then your fruits, fats, your olive oils, nuts, and seeds. So again, I wanted to give you guys, overview. I hit on a couple of the misconceptions in marketing, confusion that we see in the marketplace. It's just a matter of taking a little bit more time to educate yourself in this area because it can be confusing and I think it's done for a multitude of reasons. And there is loopholes where they can label a product uh, more natural or more this to charge more, even though it only has to be a certain percentage or ratio, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. We just have to be better as consumers and educate ourselves a little bit better. That way we can navigate these situations and do what's best for us and what makes sense for our goals. So with that said, I wrapped it up um, the overview of the grocery store labels, understanding. So if you're still on there, June, you have any questions for me?
I am still on here, yes. Just you said you'd send out the egg thing. That was going to be one of my questions because I get them. There's cage free,
Yeah.
free range,
Hmm.
and something else. I can't, like you said, you can't remember. So when you put that out, I'll
Yeah, I forgot, I got through that and I was like, I didn't add that section. Because we made that transition about I don't know, but probably about a year and a half ago or so.
yeah.
And I can just tell the difference in the taste, and the
Oh,
quality of,
there's definitely. Well, I grew up getting fresh farm eggs,
yes, yeah, yeah.
and they weren't free range farm eggs, but they were. There was a chicken farm.
Hmm.
And my mom and dad actually still get eggs from that person.
Yeah.
We, but are eggs more of a fat or more of a protein or um,
No, it's protein. I mean, it's protein. They obviously the cholesterol component people get worried about. So there is
uh,
some of the that aspect to it. A lot of that, it, I think there's a misconception there
yeah.
because they got labeled bad for a while. They're not bad, and the eggs are actually good, and the cholesterol's not necessarily going to be an issue for
I
99.9% of the people.
I could eat eggs 3 meals a day. I love eggs.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great protein, high protein source, and uh,
And so when making like something from an egg, like say an egg salad, a homemade egg salad,
mhm.
um, how do you portion that? I mean, how would you portion that out to put it in the app to
Yeah,
get
I mean the
calorie count?
yeah, I think the hardest part with that is specifically any type of product that's made in you have to you would want to look up calories per serving on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's how, ideally what you do is you would if you had a scale, you would weigh it out and it's going to give you the exact amount because then you just Google it and it'll give you exact calorie breakdown based upon the ounces. That's how you would truly do it.
Because I make my own egg salad. I don't
Yeah,
store
yeah,
bought stuff, and I found alternative ways. Like I can make it with like it's really good with cottage. Make it with cottage cheese instead of mayo.
yeah. You can pull down the calorie density a little bit with changing some of the ingredients.
So, but basically, it's more mustard than mayo. It's like dill pickles, relish,
Yeah,
celery, onions, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple.
yeah. I mean, you would really just it would be more on the portion, uh,
Okay.
and if when when you estimate, because I always say estimate, because a lot of times when we have products like that have multiple ingredients, it is a kind of a guesstimation unless you scale out everything and know the exact size or portion of every you know
Okay.
every product within the ingredient list. Um, so you could probably Google some of that and see, okay, what's the ratio or breakdown, and it's going to get you close enough.
Okay.
But if you did have a scale, I would say throw your
Oh, I
portion
do.
size on a
I
scale.
have a
And
food
then
scale.
once you have it and you know the size based close to the estimation of calories, then you're good as long as you stay within
Okay.
that range.
Okay.
Yeah, we did all that years ago, and we still have a scale. We'll pull it out sometimes and still use it on certain products. If we're unfor on
Yeah.
like, hey, what do you think the calorie breakdown is, or am I getting enough protein? What's the grams? Or we will use it. It's just a tool in a toolbox.
Isn't it all?
Yeah. 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 So I'll look up those eggs again and give you a breakdown. I'll dump them down
Okay.
in the chat.
You said you shop at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Do you what brand of egg do you buy there? Do you know?
The expensive ones.
Well, the happy ones.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's pasteurized, cage free, free range. Is that what it is? Pasteurized.
Yes.
The
I
other one,
think so. So I think free range. I think we buy the free range.
free range. Yeah, we pretty much do that here too.
Yeah. So they obviously eat more of the, you know, more of the products from the ground. So
Yeah,
bugs, whether it's,
they're getting their protein.
well, the nutrient component is more broad.
Yeah,
So if you feed them, you know, uh, from one source, it pulls out the density and the quality of that you could be getting from the nutrient value.
gotcha.
That's with anything, just like I mean, that's you see that with beef too. So if they always are fed the same structure and it's all chemical based and seed and
Hmm.
feed, well, they're not going to get the variety of nutrients they may have gotten from a natural environment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
And that's part of what it's made food more affordable, but it's also pulled some of the nutrient value out of the food.
Got it.
Yeah.
I just because doesn't to for me it doesn't make sense to cook all the time because it costs more to cook than it is for me just to order those factor meals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You got to
there
figure.
are a few things that I will, cook or whatever,
Yeah,
but
and it's bang for your buck too. For for
yeah,
for you, it's like, hey, choose what areas that you can,
yeah,
you know, be budget friendly and still stay within the boundaries of what you need to do.
yeah. But some, and you got to really watch those factor meals too, because those really can be some pretty high calorie factor meals.
Yeah, yeah, some of the yeah. We've done a lot of different meal services over the years, and yeah, you gotta, make sure you stay on top. They can do a really good job of adding a lot of flavor, but sometimes with that they add more calories.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So I'll double check on the eggs and
okay.
yeah, Whole Foods is the closest grocery store to, well, not the closest, but
Yeah.
we've shopped there for a multitude of years.
Oh,
Just
I like it.
yeah, they source a lot of their products, and they're more sticklers about bringing in products that are
Correct. They
for a
are.
higher standard.
We also have was it Natural Grocers down the street here?
Okay, yeah,
They're right
yep.
across ours are right across the street from one another.
Oh, really?
Like 5 grocery stores in 3 miles of my house.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous of the choices. But, some of them are higher price, some of them are lower price, some of them have better quality. I mean, I even have a Sprouts not too far.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
So, but
yeah.
it makes it because I am dairy free. So
I
it
got
does
you.
make it easier for me to find those things I need. But as for the dairy free milks and stuff, if you buy the ones that say organic on the front, they're going to have less of the crap in them, like the Khalifa Farms and
Okay, yeah,
the Elmhurst Farms, I think it is.
yeah,
Those are the two that I stay in because um, they are the
they,
cleaner ingredients.
yeah, they do a better job of
They do a way
yeah,
better job. They
yeah,
literally like have 6 ingredients in them,
yeah. That's good.
if
Yeah,
even that. So same with the protein powders that I use because I
yep.
have to use I can't have the, what is it? Is it whey or whatever
Whey.
it is?
Yep, yep,
And the lactose or whatever. So I use the Truvani, and it literally has all of them, less
yep,
than 6 ingredients in them.
yep, yep.
So,
You
and
know,
Whole Foods sells those.
we had a we had some clients who had some issues, and they did okay with a real clean whey isolate,
Yeah,
because it's how they process it. But
yeah,
it just depends on the person.
yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the Whole Foods is, I was listening to a podcast the other day of the founder of Whole Foods, and he's from Texas down there.
Is he? I
Yeah.
thought it got, well, I'm thinking Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's got started in California. I
Yeah.
don't, I have several of those nearby too.
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah.
I live on the north side of Dallas, so we have everything you
Yeah.
we think of right here.
That's
So,
good.
yeah. But when I go home for like I'm going to be home in Ohio for 2 weeks, Christmas time.
Okay.
I literally have no choices there. Literally. There's a Walmart, a
Yeah.
Meijer, and a local grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to order stuff on Amazon, have it shipped here, and then ship it to my parents' house
I got you. Yeah.
because or get stuff from the store and then ship it home. But I have
Gotcha.
to make sure it's all shelf stable, or I don't, or I'm, you know, SOL because I don't sell a lot of it there.
No. No, I get it. Smaller
So
town.
it's not even that it's a small town, it's just where
Just
it's
don't have the
located.
options. Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
sits
got you.
between, it sits between three big cities,
Ah,
and the options from the big cities haven't come in there yet.
yeah.
And, it's an old manufacturing railroad town.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
there's not a lot of if you've got money, you're going to go out of town to purchase.
Gotcha. No, that makes
So
sense.
so there's a lot of low income people in my hometown, I think, too,
Yeah. Yeah.
because a lot of manufacturing's gone. So,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
but yeah,
Well, let me know if you need anything else.
okay,
I will try to find those eggs and send them over to you.
all right, not a problem. And yeah, I got the creatine and the omega with a cute CoQ10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. So I got those off of that website you sent me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thanks for that. And those are going well. So,
Good.
but
Awesome.
yeah. So I'm actually going to jump because I have to go to the doctor. I have a kidney stone. So,
Uh-oh.
Amy,
Oh. Well, hope you get that taken care of.
yeah, those are not great.
Yeah. All right. Well, you take care of yourself,
You
Gina.
too. Take care.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.